preparing to live stream. So let's see if it'll
Okay.
do what it said it's going to do. And I always take a little like picture and post that on social media so people can know. Oh, good. Oh, we're on.
We're on. We're on. Happy Thursday.
Right? Happy Thursday, everyone. I had to mute myself through um the screen here. Okay, so let me go back to us. I wonder why is it showing up like it only does speaker view. I actually prefer
Hmm.
for it to show both of us. Let me see. Maybe hopefully that changes things. Okay. Well, anyway, let me grab the link and then I'm going to send an email to my list. I'll
Okay.
post it on social and then we'll get started.
Okay.
While I'm doing this, how has your week been? Has it been super busy or just the norm?
It's been busy. I try to look at my week ahead, and if it's not busy, I fill it in with community outreach. Like I'm out in the community building connections with like random strangers and staff and leadership of organizations, whether they're in public health or not. I make my weeks busy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm also a mother, so I feel like, and I have mom guilt because my daughter is in daycare, and so if I'm not
Oh,
working hard, I'm like my baby needs to just be home, right? My husband, he's
yeah.
around, he's very helpful and everything, but I have a lot more flexibility with my business and my schedule. So if I'm not working hard and I'm not busy, then why is baby girl at school, you know? Um, but it's been beneficial for her as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, and I
Yeah.
know that that's not necessarily like what we're talking about tonight, but I do think that, there's something to be said about how entrepreneurship can also help tremendously with parenthood, and how
Mm-hmm.
you're able to like spend time with with your family in ways that most people who are stuck in the corporate rat race can't. And
Yes.
don't get me wrong, that can work in the reverse too. Like for myself, for example, I don't have the obligations of a family, right? And so what happens with me is that I actually tend to immerse myself in work because I don't have
Mm-hmm.
that obligation. But when I was married, for example, I would try to be very intentional about carving out time to, spend with my spouse. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's important, It's
Yeah.
pretty cool that you
Yeah.
get to do that.
Yeah. The work-life balance is something that I talk about a lot.
Yeah,
I feel like I've gained my energy back when I actually created boundaries. And things are still getting done,
exactly.
when it's kind of like the thing I've talked about, and it's kind of on topic with email marketing. When you have things in place and you set boundaries and expectations for the clients that you have, you don't have to respond immediately to everything that they're needing. And you don't really want to set that expectation for them, right? But at the same time, you want to make sure that it's clear that, hey, this is our response time, typically 48, 72 hours, whatever it is for you. But like to respond to every single email as soon as it's sent, I just don't think that's, I think it just sets a bad tone for how to communicate. And they might expect that all the time. Or even if it's family and friends, like they expect you to pick up the phone every time they call. And it's like, hey, I'm busy, I'm doing certain things. When I get home from work, I make sure I'm off the phone with my friends and it's my husband's time and my daughter's time. So it's like work-life boundaries is what I talk about.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I think that you're definitely, and by the way, I'm literally just posting on
Yeah.
Facebook. I'm going to post on LinkedIn and then I'm done. I promise I'm done.
Oh no,
But
you're fine. Can you drop the link in the chat? I'll do the same.
yes, I'm sorry I didn't do that. But
Oh, you're fine.
we do have Jude here. Shout out to Jude because
Shout
Jude is
out to
in London.
Jude.
In London, it's like freaking Jude, what is it? Like 1 o'clock in the morning. I really think like thank you so much for being here, Jude. Like you are the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jude
Awesome.
is amazing, man. He is like I know he's probably gonna cringe when I say this, but I think he's an awesome tour guide, okay? Because
Mm.
I have been to London several times before meeting him, but um after meeting him and seeing London through his eyes, I like really appreciate the city. I actually really like the place because there was a while, Jude, I don't even know if I told you this. But I didn't like London for a long time. But after hanging out with Jude and like him showing me around and stuff, I have a renowned yeah, I have a renowned appreciation for the city. So thank you for that, Jude. You're awesome in so many ways. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I see Jude says boundaries are super important. That's been my new year, new me. Boundaries.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah.
going to mention that, you had said something that's super oh, did I drop the link? I'm sorry, I got
You
distracted. Yeah, I did.
did. Nope,
Okay.
you did. Thank you.
No problem. But you had said something that I agree with wholeheartedly, and it was the need to set boundaries, especially with clients, because there was a time where I used to respond to emails, uh, join us. I'm sorry, join us. Okay, sorry. I thought I could type and talk at the same time, but that didn't
No, I'm
go
doing
over
the
too
same
well.
thing. Yes, and we're just sharing this. If you, Jude, share it to some connections that you have, we just want to get some more people in the room. Thank you for joining us. I have some friends in London as well.
I love it. I
Yes,
love
I've
it.
invited people from all over the world. So, yes,
Oh, yes. Oh, that's so
so fun.
awesome. Okay, but yes, back to what I was trying to say with regard to the need to set boundaries with clients. There was a point in time where I did used to respond all the time, any, random hours throughout the day. And yeah, I suffered from burnout as a result. So you've really
Mm,
got to be careful with stuff like that because you will get burned out. And for anyone who's had the fortune of not getting burned out, let me tell you, it's not something that you want to, push yourself to.
yeah,
It's like it's literally one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced as a business owner, just where your brain is completely fried. You are physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted, and you just have nothing to give anyone. And so I didn't start to kind of prohibit that until A, I hired a team. And B, also I
hmm
started setting boundaries. I'm like, yeah, this email from a client at midnight saying that we need to change something at 6 o'clock in the morning, not happening. Like I'm not reading it. I'm not doing anything before our, office hours,
yeah,
like not doing it. You should have sent that during normal business hours. So
yeah,
I've just gotten very, very tight with the way in which I communicate with clients. And yeah, it's important.
yeah. That
Yeah.
is, and the thing about it is like my rule of thumb is not what you say, it's how you say it. And even if you wait through the proper time to respond, that's still enforcing the boundary, right? Because even though you saw it outside of the time, you could have responded and that could have made the boundary a gray area.
Yep.
So, enforcing the boundaries that you set in place also establishes trust and respect with your client. And they also appreciate it because there's been times I tell my clients that they're sending stuff on the weekend that I really didn't think was that big of a priority, even if they're past their deadline. Like, enjoy your time with yourself or your family. Doesn't matter what your dynamic is, it can wait. I just really feel like a couple days isn't going to change this project, right? Now, if it's a grant, that has a deadline, I might have to be on top of you on that one. But other than that, typically, I encourage my clients to take some time on the weekends to enjoy themselves, and we'll reconnect on Monday.
I love that. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
And Jude said something I found very profound. He said that I believe clients and friends appreciate you more when you set boundaries. And I could not
Mm-hmm.
agree with you
Mm-hmm.
anymore, Jude. I think that is so incredibly true. It's almost like you're kind
Yeah.
of giving them instructions on how to interact with you. So, as
Yeah.
always, thank you so much for sharing your insight. So, with that being said,
Yeah.
I know Jude said, "Oh my gosh, ladies, this topic deserves its own webinar with a panel." I know that's so true, Jude. It
Let's
does.
do
I know, right? We should do
it.
that.
Yes.
I do want to go ahead and dive in because we're 7 minutes past the hour, and
Yes.
punctuality is very important to me. So, obviously, we were just talking about clients and stuff like that. And I think that that would be a great segue into discussing like who you are and what you do. So for those of you who don't know, I had the privilege of meeting Brittaney last year at a conference that I presented at. Shout out to the Alabama State Black Chamber of Commerce, Jerry Mitchell, incredible guy, great friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so spoke there. Brittany and I had a conversation. You were kind enough to record a testimonial video. So thank you
Yes.
for that again. And yeah, we just kept in touch. And, I'm sharing this to say that, you know, I don't know, like when people go to conferences, I don't know what you all's goals are, but just understand that, like, when you have the opportunity to meet people in real time, these are real people, obviously, because you're meeting them in person. And so these are real relationships that you can
Yeah.
start to forge and, support one another. And so this is one of many ways in which Brittany and I will,
Mm-hmm.
continue to cultivate and strengthen this relationship. So, guys, if and women and
Yes.
beautiful human beings, when you go to conferences, be intentional about connecting with people, not just, passing out your business cards like it's some kind of greeting card, but really be intentional, connect with people on a real level, not a surface level type
Mm-hmm.
of conversation or relationship, but like really get to know them and see how you can be a value add before you just haul off and start pitching yourself.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And I want to
Brit-
say, like, I truly value the skill that people should use when it comes to networking. Like you said, don't just go in there pitching yourself or your services. And it doesn't have to be, it's not that hard. It's just like go ahead and talk to someone where they said something that aligned with you and tell them how great they were on stage. Sometimes people don't know
exactly.
if it really sat well with the audience because people don't really engage like that anymore. But yeah, Maria, you did so good. And I was like,
Thank
someone
you.
gets it. Thank God. And it's great to know like you're a subject matter expert in this. And I feel the same that I am. And for us to connect, I had to make sure I talked to you and thanked you and was so happy to do that testimonial for you because you nailed
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate
it.
that. And so, without further ado, I always mess that little phrase up. I want to make sure I introduce you. So, y'all, this is Brittany Jenkins. First of all, she is a health equity consultant. We can kind of dive into exactly what that means if you're watching this and you're like, okay, what is that? We'll, of course, go into
Hmm.
that. But she's also an award-winning entrepreneur. In fact, that conference that I met her at, where I spoke at last year, she actually won an award at that company or at that conference, rather, because of her business. Again, CEO
Hmm.
and founder of Jenkins Consulting. Is that correct? I feel like I'm missing a
Jenkins
word.
Public Health. That's
That's
okay.
right. And so, yeah, Brittany, thank you so much for being here this evening. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And I want us to like kind of kick off with, could you kind of explain like what is public health and like how did
Hmm.
you kind of get started in that space?
Yes. I like to say that public health is everything around us. It's literally
Mm,
the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the water that we drink, and the roads that we drive and walk on. And I've actually worked in all of those areas within public health. And it's been literally life changing for my life and the work that
mm,
I do for other people and other organizations. So, public health is literally everything around you. And when it comes to public health and healthcare, public health is more of the prevention side, and healthcare is more of the treatment, testing side. Public health tests for things too, but public health is prevention, healthcare is treatment. And the saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it's easier
mm,
to prevent disease, illness, injuries than it is to cure it or treat it because some things aren't curable. Okay. So, lifestyle, accessibility, all the different things that you can
mm.
do to protect public health or, enforce public health in your life is just something that I'm so passionate about. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, and it's interesting because coming into this conversation, I had one kind of thought around what public health is, but after you've explained it, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, it is literally like
Hmm.
everything.
Yes.
And so with that being said, one of my other questions,
Hmm.
when you mention it's everything, right? To me,
Yes.
okay, it's like it's ubiquitous. And so with
Yeah.
that being said, whenever you have something that is literally everywhere and it's like super essential, that is a great recipe actually for a recession-proof business, which, you know,
Okay.
in this unstable economy, a lot of CFOs are predicting that we are absolutely heading into a recession. A lot of bank CEOs are also saying the same thing, that they believe that
Hmm.
2025 will be the year in which the United States economy is in a recession. And
Mm,
so, with that being said, like, how can small business owners get involved in this space? Like, this space that is
yeah,
like everything, everywhere. How does one get involved in this
yeah,
space?
yeah. The whole recession proof thing, or not even recession proof, but the recession talk, sometimes I'm just like, so I ignore things that
Yeah,
it's like they've been saying we're going into a recession for years. And so
true.
if I would have stopped doing what I'm supposed to be doing, what I feel called to do with my purpose, I just would have been in a box and not operating at the level that I could. Or I see a lot of my competitors, we're all in a group chat. They're sitting back, they're closing their businesses, they're scared. But guess what? I am still moving forward as if I don't see the tornado coming. Okay.
Exactly.
And the thing, and I kind of get in trouble with that too, because I was literally stuck in a tornado because I'm like, oh, it's just rain.
Oh, oh no. Oh, I'm terrified of natural disasters. That terrifies me.
I am someone, I'm like, I've moved to the South. If it's just rain, forget it. It's no snow. So I literally was stuck in a tornado. And sadly, it did take out the town like literally like 10 minutes from us. Like it was that serious. So
Whoa.
it is important to kind of pay attention to those things
Yeah.
and watch the market trends. But someone who's a small business owner who wants to get into public health, it really is all about doing your market research. What is really being sold? What are organizations paying for?
Hmm.
Then looking at your skill set and align it with what the market is saying. And then also just execute, you know, try to overcome that fear because fear is going to be here or like now or later.
Hmm.
Um, Opportunity is going to come whether you take advantage of it or not.
Hmm.
And fear is like false evidence appearing real. It's
Yeah.
just something that you're holding yourself back from when the opportunity is calling your name. So when it comes to public health, I'll break it down a little bit. Air is environmental health, right? I used to be an
Hmm.
environmental
Hmm.
health specialist, and we made sure like smoke-free air policies were in place for parks and schools, colleges.
Wow.
We were making sure people had just quality air. And then like water quality is also environmental health, making sure that our waters are, doesn't have certain chemicals or bacteria in it that can lead to certain diseases in our bodies. So I used to do pool testing for like YMCA's and gyms and community centers, and I would have to
Mm.
close the pool because people could literally die from being in contaminated pools. And community health screenings, disease prevention, all
Mm.
those things. But at a high level business, from a business owner perspective, organizations are looking to be more sustainable, right? So if you are someone who's really good with data and you can make that into a visualization in a way that the community can understand what the data is saying,
Hmm.
or the organization knows what to do with that data so they can put it out for the funding agency, for the community. That is really something that organizations are looking for. I'll be fully transparent. I just lost an opportunity because I didn't have that skill set. But I was filling in,
Mm.
I was replying to the RFP based on what I knew I could do and bringing in partners who could fill that gap. But there was another agency who really specialized in data visualization, bringing the data to life
Mm.
visually. And I've done that, but we don't have like a full blown process for data
Hmm.
visualization,
Hmm.
though we put it in reports. So that is a huge need. They have a lot of data, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to story tell with it. They don't have,
Wow.
systems and software. We don't have software. We can graphic design very well. You give us the data, but that is a skill set that they're looking for with small business owners.
Okay, wow. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry to
Yeah.
hear that, you didn't get the deal, but
Yeah.
um,
It happens.
right, exactly. True. It happens. And I know that that is just, one of few that won't go through. And, of course, you're going
Hmm.
to continue to press forward. And so obviously one of the things that I wanted to ask you in addition, kind of like a follow-up to that question, with regard to like the opportunities in the space and stuff like that, are like you already mentioned the analytical or data science
Hmm.
aspect of the needs, right? But like, what are some other examples of opportunities for, solopreneurs or just entrepreneurs, business owners in general? How can they kind of get into the public health space?
I see a lot of maternal health needs as
Oh,
well.
wow.
And I'm calling out things specifically that doesn't, you know, that I see is a gap, right? I see
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times on LinkedIn, organizations who are maternal health are saying, hey, we need more consultants to come in and help us design this maternal health program so that we can reach more women, not just Black women, not just cis
Yep.
women, but overall women. And then, of course, we know the mortality rates of pregnant women for Black women are higher.
Yeah.
So they are doing some of those really um, specific initiatives, but maternal health is huge. Of course, mental health is huge. And you don't need to be a doctor. You don't have to have your doctor PH or your
Mm,
PhD to do this stuff. You have to be someone who's motivated, has the skill set, and you show up. And that's
mm,
really how I've gotten a lot of the opportunities that I have. So maternal health, mental health, um, you know, you have like health and safety. So I see a lot of environment, what is it? Infection preventionists. Those
mm.
are coming up to reduce hospital, uh, what is it, rates of infection in the hospital, making sure it's more sanitized to prevent, hospital acquired diseases.
Oh,
So
wow.
I see that a lot. There's a podcast on my channel that I was on about infection preventionists and some of the work that I've done. And they kind of talk a little bit about that, but I've done a little bit of other work in the hospital system. So,
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
yes.
Like you said, again, it goes back to what you were saying, like public health is everywhere, it's everything. And so I can totally see how all of these needs are,
Mm-hmm.
they're needed
Yeah, yeah.
across so many different sectors, actually. So that's very
Mm-hmm.
interesting because I would have never thought about like the data science piece, would have never thought
Yeah.
about, infectious disease services needed for or consulting needed
Prevention.
for preventing inside of a hospital, right? So that's like a niche within a niche. So
Mm-hmm.
very interesting insights here.
Yeah.
So how does one kind of measure success in public health? Like eh, I understand that, we've talked a lot about like prevention, for example, or awareness and things like that. So like how do you measure your success, your impact in this space?
Yeah. It definitely depends on the type of program our clients have.
Hmm.
But for example, one of the things that I talk about is health organizations who are doing community outreach and engagement. A lot of the times they're measuring their success in a way. It's like, hey, we have this community event, 1,000 people attended, so that's our measure of success. And I think that's completely inaccurate
Hmm.
because how many of that 1,000 people actually signed up for your services? How many of that
Right.
1,000 people actually showed up for the services, while making sure we address the reason why they didn't, the social determinants of health, you know. So those other numbers are your success determination of success. Um,
Hmm.
Also, like, people who go through these community health programs, like a diabetes self-management program that I'm helping a client with right now, we've been measuring the reduction in A1C levels or
Hmm.
the good maintenance of healthy A1C levels for type 2 diabetics, right? So sometimes it's not just an improvement of health, it's a maintenance of good health. Um,
Nice.
Measuring, the number of hospital visits prior and then currently. So sometimes patients are going to the hospital for a lot, but now that we get them under control or help them more with education or provide an on-call specialist for them, they're able to reduce their hospital admission rates because now they have someone they can talk to versus going to the ED, and that's an increase in the medical costs for them, for taxpayers, all the things, the waiting room times. So there's a lot of different ways to measure success when it comes to community health initiatives. Um,
Hmm.
Also with like online marketing for health organizations, likes and shares is not a measure of success. It definitely depends on what your goal is for marketing. But
Hmm.
again, how many people that saw your post actually signed up to talk to you about this community, disease prevention program? How many actually showed up, right? So it's like from sign up to onboard to completion. That is what we're talking about here and how we measure success.
Oh, wow. So with that being said, it sounds like this could easily be kind of like a years long sort of project, right? Not one
Absolutely.
of those kind of one-offs, We host the, you know, what am I trying? I'm just going to make up something. We
Yeah.
host the anti-obesity rally. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yay, we had 5,000 people show up to the rally. We got, 3,000 email addresses there and all of this. But in fact, like you mentioned, it's the holistic
Mm-hmm.
approach. Like, okay, great, you got the 5,000 people, but what percentage of those individuals have actually pledged to combat obesity? And then, like,
Mm-hmm.
what percentage of those over a certain period of time have actually successfully been able to reduce their weight and not
Mm-hmm.
be obese anymore? So, okay, yeah, wow, that's
Yeah.
actually really interesting.
And that's the thing that we're solving. We see a gap in the way that they're implementing programs, collecting data, engaging with community, and we come in to optimize like your resources, your time, your money. When organizations actually do that, they uncover significant financial opportunities. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is such a great topic because one of my clients, they uncovered multi six figures in revenue. Okay, I was like, sorry,
Right. Earned
it's
your keep.
like right. And that stuff is not, when I initially meet them, those are things I cannot guarantee them. Those are things that we didn't even know what happened. We're just like, hey, this is your challenge. This is my solution. Let's work together. And great things happen when you have two people who are dedicated to moving the needle forward, right? I can be someone who is just so excited to help your organization because I have the solution to your needs, but that person has to be the one who moves the needle forward. I can't make you take action. But those who are ready to take action today because they see there's more opportunity on the table after they've,
Mm-hmm.
had the conversation with us, because some people didn't even realize it until we had a conversation. That's when big things happen for you, right? Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I mean, when we think about the landscape of the U.S. Right now with the new administration in the White
Whew.
House, there have been a number of changes, so many changes that even the media, mainstream media, is having a hard time keeping up with all of the executive orders that have been signed since President Trump has returned to the White House. And so,
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, I am curious to know how any of his executive orders are affecting your business because let's be
Mm,
honest, his administration has significantly reduced funding for universities, for example,
mm-hmm.
significantly reducing, health related initiatives across the nation. And
Yeah,
so I am curious to know how is that affecting you? Because we are talking about
yeah.
this being a recession-proof business, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what does that look like when funds are being frozen or reversed, as they are right
Yeah,
now in the United States?
yeah. I when I'm telling you, when some of these first came out, executive orders came out, my inboxes were just flooded, and it just hasn't really stopped because it's like one shot after another. You know, the thing is, it's been really interesting. Initially, it was a lot of the DEI stuff, and it's still that coming out, right? It is truly hard to
Hmm.
keep up with without like my brain stressing out because of the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
But I don't do specific DEI work. So a lot of the work that I've been doing hasn't been affected, honestly. There's still a lot of opportunity on the table for everyone. Grant, as let me say this too. I've worked in government for years.
Mm.
A lot of my clients are government clients, but I've also worked at the state level when it comes to grant writing and uncovering resource opportunities for government agencies, you know, approving grants at the state level, all the things. The grant piece and the removal of funds doesn't stress me out as much because I just showed a client that there was $100 million worth of funding opportunities released within the last 6 months. So, like, guys, like it. Let me stick to the question. It really hasn't affected my business more so in a way that my ideal clients, they're like, I'm not sure what's going to happen, so we're not sure we want to take action. But that's the last thing you want to do is not take action and prepare and put processes in place to ensure sustainability, whether or not you get the funding. Because with grants, the way that they work, there's no guarantees anyway, whether these executive orders are happening or not. I used to work for the world-renowned medical center in Tennessee.
Mm,
They lost a lot of money, and it was not even due to executive orders or political things. It was because they didn't have certain things in place, or they were doing the same old thing that they've been doing to get the money. And we have to address that now so that you can uncover consistent opportunities, right?
hmm.
A lot of the times we're depending on these same old grants, depending on, oh, they know us, so they're going to give it to us. And that's not the case. So really motivating organizations and their leadership to say, don't let this shake you too much. Be aware and make sure you're in compliance, but at the same time, make sure you're putting things in place for sustainability beyond grant season. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. One thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, and you kind of like touched on this in the very beginning when I asked the question, is just the importance of having a mindset of abundance. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was just sharing actually yesterday, I had a conversation with someone and was sharing that, yes, is it getting perhaps a bit more challenging than usual to close deals? Sure, I can, I'll speak for myself. I do feel that it's taking a lot longer to close deals, and it's becoming a bit more harder to find
Mm-hmm.
qualified leads, right? But transactions are happening every single day.
Second of the
And
day.
yeah, seriously. And so I was just having this conversation last night. I'm like, you've just got to make sure that you're a part of those exchanges. And that's it,
Mm-hmm.
because they're happening and they're going to continue to happen, whether there's a recession or not.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, when the economy is unstable or there's some uncertainty, a lot of discount, stores such as Aldi's or Dollar Tree or even Trader Joe's, for example, those tend to take off. And
Mm-hmm.
so I explain to people again, recession or not, whether people are broke or not, because I know that the US has just crossed, over $1 trillion in credit card debt for the first time in the history
Mm.
of this nation. We're just so heavy in debt as consumers. And so I'm like, listen, whether folks got the cash or not, they're spending money.
They spending money.
They're
You
spending it.
know, I saw this lady. This is so interesting. I just wanted to share this. I did see a lady at a nail salon. She had a bag of credit cards. I'm talking about a gallon Ziploc bag of credit cards, and she was just using each one to see which one went through. I just was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
And like when it comes to debt, and I'll say this, when it comes to debt, there's a thing about healthy debt and bad debt, right? Like
Yeah.
owning real estate properties, there's going to be some debt there because you haven't paid them off yet. Now, some
Yep.
pay for cash, some pay properties in cash, but like some of these large, nice, big properties, whatever, that's healthy debt. When you have mounds of credit card debt, that
Oh,
you obviously have a gallon Ziploc bag of credit cards, that is not healthy debt, right? Like, come on.
yeah.
So it's a big to understand the difference because I do have a connection of women who are also mothers who doesn't believe that any debt, like they believe all debt is bad debt. And it's like, no, no, not really. So if you want to buy a house, you'll have debt until you pay off your house. There's a way to, do that fast as well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm
yeah,
glad that you brought that up. I mean, it's very true. There is definitely a difference. All debt is not bad. I know that even for my business, there have been times where I've had to take out
yeah,
a business loan, and
yeah,
legitimately the loan saved my business. I mean, that's just a
absolutely.
cold-hearted fact. And
Yes,
so I'm appreciative of that. Thankfully, I've been able to pay off the loans and things like that. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. There is a
yes.
difference. There's no need or no reason for folks to just be completely anti-debt, although I do
Mm-hmm.
understand why people are, but it does serve a purpose. And mounds of credit cards certainly is not the best way to go. Obviously, this is, someone who is struggling with, especially since they had to like kind of go through and figure out which one would actually work.
I couldn't believe it.
Um,
I was staring. I was really staring. I was like, not trying to judge, but I was like, wait a second,
yeah.
ma'am, this is not good,
No, it's not.
but
Yeah,
mm,
that's pretty bizarre. But Okay, well, like
Yes,
I said,
yes,
like you've affirmed and like we've been saying, there's abundance everywhere,
it
folks.
is.
So do not be deterred based on what you're seeing in the news and the trade
Mm-hmm.
wars going on between the United States and Canada and Mexico and all of this stuff.
Yeah,
Just know the transactions are taking place all over the world. And that's another thing. I
absolutely.
know that people say when the US sneezes, the rest of the world coughs.
Mm,
Again, yeah, there's some truth to that, but guess what? There are countries that are thriving, and they're going to continue to thrive with or without the United States economy, going into a recession. Okay, so
yeah,
we're thankfully we're living in a time in which you can conduct business around the world from the comfort of your home or your office or wherever.
yes.
So don't get caught up thinking that the world is ending because AI and because recession and yada, yada, yada. Just know that there are opportunities, plentiful
Mm-hmm.
opportunities actually, and transactions are occurring every single day. And you just got to figure
Yes.
out how you can be a part of those. So, with
Mm-hmm.
that being said, obviously I introduced you as a health equity consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are an independent consultant and
Correct.
meaning that you're not working for one of the big four, consulting agencies like a Deloitte or a McKinsey, for example, or EY, Ernst and Young. So could you kind of explain to us, like, what is the difference between being an independent consultant, or I guess I should say an independent public health consultant versus working for one of the big four firms?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the difference is I own and operate my own consulting firm. So I work for myself. I don't, have to um, answer to anyone. I'm the CEO of the company, but then those other companies, they do still hire people as consultants, but
Mm,
they're under a company. They don't own that company. They don't have a say in what happens with that company when it comes to the finances and opportunities, right? I can take whatever opportunity that I want, whether it's within our mission or outside of our mission, in a positive way, but I can do what I want in my company and my business. And there's a lot more flexibility with that. Now, if you're working as a consultant for another firm,
mm-hmm,
you're under everything and have to follow their policies and guidelines, and it has to be within their strategic plan and all of the things. But there has been clients who were not really public health organizations. And I was like, well, I can still help you on this. I mean, it's not public health topic, but this is the skill you need. I can support you on this topic. But if that was to happen with a large firm,
mm-hmm.
that they wouldn't allocate resources towards that, right? They
Right.
would say, hey, this is not, no. So that is one thing I love. I can pick the projects that I want to do. I can say no to projects, right? You got to say, when the boss says you have this to do, you have to do it.
That's true.
I can let clients go. And if I get let go from a client, which thankfully it's been a good history, we can find another client. The income ceiling, there's no ceiling with income opportunity. However, working for another company, there is. You get what you get for the year. We can
Mm-hmm.
make, an annual salary in a month. So,
Yeah.
that's the benefits there, and I love that.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, and
Mm-hmm,
one thing I do want to ask you, just kind of as a follow-up to that question, because when you think about, like, I can easily see somebody being not offended, being
mm-hmm.
not offended. What is the word I'm looking for?
Slighted.
Intimidated, intimidated. I
Okay.
can see someone being intimidated to kind of go up against the big four, right? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously everybody knows Deloitte. Everyone knows, like, they've been around for freaking infinity at this point. And like, they have a certain kind of level of consultants that they hire and stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
when you have to compete against, or maybe in your mind, you don't even feel like you're competing against them. And I would be interested in hearing what your thoughts are around this, but I am just curious to know, like, how do you kind of navigate that where you're like, in comparison to these major multi-billion dollar companies with unlimited resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then here you are an independent consultant. You may not have, billions of dollars in R&D and
Mm-hmm.
marketing and things like that, but still you do a great job. But how do you kind of like choice yourself to be the optimal choice against
Hmm.
like a big four consultant?
Yeah, I love that question. So, a lot of the times when I'm looking to work with a client, I'm doing some cold pitches. Basically, you don't know who else is talking to your client, but your potential client, and you just got to go in prepared, confident, right?
Yep.
A lot of the times they might say, "Hey, we're also considering other consultants." Hey, that's fine. That doesn't bother me. I'm showing up and I'm addressing any type of questions or objections that you have, so that we can move forward for the better good of you. And a lot of organizations, they actually value having a small firm work with them because they know exactly who they're working with. It's not going to be a different person and all these different people communicating with them, and things get confusing or frustrating.
Yep.
But there are other this is one time that I knew who my competitors were applying to at RFP. That was actually different. We've been in business since 2018. That was maybe something new for this other organization.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, okay, they're all bigger than me. These are 20 staff member, 100 staff member corporations. And that's kind of the contract I was talking about I lost. But I came in second place and I didn't lose by that many points. So I was proud. I was like, okay, I'm with the big dogs.
Yeah, seriously, that's amazing.
Yeah,
No,
I came in
that's
second place. But hey, big opportunities are coming. That's why I think about too. There's always opportunities out there. Just that wasn't mine. That's okay. It's leaving space for something bigger. Um,
exactly.
but you know, it's good to know your competitors. It's good to know why, maybe they were selected versus someone else. But also don't let that intimidate you. I'm gonna apply next to Google. I'm gonna apply next to Deloitte because you never know. It'd be a one mistake that they made that didn't get them that opportunity. Again, back to when I could see all our competitors for this RFP,
Yep.
one piece of the instructions said that you had to get a certified check from your bank to attach to your application. Well, 5 of the 7 applicants didn't have a certified check. And
Oh,
that means
wow.
that you go to your bank and make sure that they actually print the check to say these are valid
Yeah,
funds in your account versus having a check written from your checkbook at home where you can say,
exactly.
hey, I'm gonna just write $1,000 check. It might not be in there, but So I think there might have been like 3 of us who actually had a certified check, but most of them didn't. And that can be the differentiator between
Yeah,
that big business and me. I could have won it because I was the only one. So sometimes this
exactly.
might not even be that you weren't the best applicant, or other factors that you might think wasn't your knowledge, but it could be some other small factors that cause someone to lose an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like I said, they had more of a system for data visualization, like a software. We don't have a software for data visualization, and it was a fair loss, and that's okay. Now I can collaborate with them. Actually, I know how to
Yeah.
come in the back door and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is who I am. Let's talk."
I love that. I mean, I
Yeah.
love you like really, really, really exude a mindset of abundance.
Thank
Like
you.
you could have easily just been like, hey, they won the contract. It is what it is, and just kind of left it there. But you literally are like, oh, I can just partner with them. And I think that
Yeah.
is so incredible. Even me in this copywriting, email marketing space, same. I've had the honor and privilege of partnering with dear friends and colleagues like Donnie Bryant, who
Hmm.
is very much respected in the space as well. And I have had someone ask, like, why do you work with Donnie? You guys do literally the same thing, which we do.
Hmm.
We do the
Yeah.
exact same thing. But for me, Donnie is a value add, right? We
Yes.
are a value add to one another. Donnie has actually referred quite a bit of business to me over the years, and we do the exact same thing. And so I
Yep.
love how you are just kind of like, you know what? They won. Congratulations. And by the way, let's partner together. Let's see how we can
Yeah.
work together on another project. So
We,
I love that.
and a lot of the times there's an opportunity to partner with your competitors because they're getting a lot of requests, or I'm getting a lot of requests. And I need someone who has the same skill set to support me in making our clients happy. Right.
Hmm.
And so that's why people need, if you're new to the industry or you have this mindset that you shouldn't even know your competitors, I'm talking about have a conversation, meet
Yep.
them on Zoom. Hey, that is, you're leaving money on the table. I've made a lot of good revenue partnering with my competitors. Seriously. Part
Wow.
of our community impact framework, we have a signature framework that we use with our clients.
Mm-hmm.
A big part of that is marketing. We do like health literacy marketing, graphic design, making sure that we take person from viewer to doer, right? Like I kind of talk about not just showing up for the health event, but getting them signed up, making sure they complete it, have a good health outcome. But we had a marketing agency who we collaborated on a very successful event that turned into an online course. And why so people are asking me, why are you like letting her do marketing when you do that? You've done this for our company, and because that's necessary. Then you kind of meet people who are in their connections who want to work with you. So, cross pollinating is a
Mm-hmm.
huge.
That's so true. Yeah. I mean, and I want to kind of segue into the marketing piece. Of course,
Yeah.
I've been in marketing for 20 plus years, which completely dates me. I am like officially an auntie. Now that I think about it, like I'm legitimately auntie mode all day. In fact, I am literally a great auntie, which just makes me feel all sorts of crazy.
Yeah.
But I am often asked by people like, oh, do you think it makes sense for like my business to send marketing emails? I'm a
Mm-hmm.
hairstylist or I'm in the nutrition space or I'm a plumber. I don't, what does plumbing have to do with email marketing? And so my response to that is that in my now again 20 plus years of
Mm-hmm.
working in this industry, I've yet to run across any
Yeah.
sector whatsoever that
Yeah.
can't benefit from email marketing. And so, of course, I actually want to raise that question to you. What
Mm-hmm.
role, if any, does email marketing play in the work that you do in the public health sector?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Everybody needs email marketing. When I do outreach events or I'm networking in the community and I look around, I'm like, you're not collecting emails. Like, I need to start talking to
It's
these people.
baffling.
Like, that's money on the table. That's relationships on the table, right? Because I do believe in the like, know, and trust. But some people they trust you right off top and they're ready to work with you now. It doesn't have to take all that. But it's leaving money on the table. So email marketing is I'm obsessed with it. It's essential to our company. And it saves time and money. Time is money. Money is time. Okay. So we get people who are joining our email list every single day. And it's something that I don't have to feel guilty because I haven't communicated with them, right? They automatically get a welcome email from me. Then they're automatically getting notified of what resources that we have. And in between all those different emails that they receive automatically over the course of a month, I can reply to their questions versus
Yeah.
making sure, and it's probing questions, it's introducing them to me and our services, it's letting them know and keeping them aware of what's happening in our industry. We don't really do newsletters. We really just provide communication and open it up for two-way communication. But email marketing gives me my time back as a business owner, as a wife, as a mom, because I don't want to be in my emails all day. Like people spend actual full work days in their emails just responding and not doing work. I remember working in corporate, I would get in trouble because I didn't email back fast enough. And I'm like, I literally have to close my emails because
Yeah.
people expect manual responses for everything. And that just takes up a significant amount of time, which costs a significant amount of money.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I love what you said in terms of, the two-way communication that happens through
Mm-hmm.
email. And that's what I explained to people. That's why email marketing is one of many reasons actually why email marketing is so unique and it's so
Mm-hmm.
effective because it really is a two-way communication channel.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with, let's say for example, blogging, that's a one-to-many conversation, okay? These people that read your blog, they know that you're not writing that blog just for them. Now, sure, they may resonate with what was written,
Mm-hmm.
but they know that that particular piece of media was not written just for them. Same
Right.
thing with social media marketing. Of course, social media has its place. There is some relevance there, of course, to be on social media, to show up in that space. But the problem with social media is that again, it's a one to many. It's not very
Hmm.
personalized. So even
Yeah.
if people resonate with what you're saying and they're in the comments like, oh my gosh, I feel seen, that's great. You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
But ultimately, people know that they're having a public conversation, right? It's in a public
Right.
forum. And you are under the, you are under the supervision, if you will, of
Of that
Elon Musk.
platform.
You're under the supervision of a Mark Zuckerberg and so on and so forth. And
Hmm.
so this is why email marketing is really a formidable channel. And it doesn't surprise me that you have such a great deal of success with email marketing. And I can
Yeah.
attest as well, when I meet people, we have actually set up an automation where I put people's contact information in an internal web form that I've created. And when I walk away, they automatically get an email basically recapping what we just talked about. Because as they're talking to me, I'm already entering their email address into my
Hmm.
internal form, and I'm adding a little blurb to remind them of what we discussed, right? And
Hmm.
so the call to action is click here to speak with me, to schedule time to speak with me. Well, if they don't do that within a certain amount of time, then they get
Hmm.
another follow-up email. And again,
Yep.
all of this is fully automated.
Automatic.
I
Yep.
don't have to, as you mentioned a moment ago, be in the inbox and, trying to respond to a bunch of emails or trying to send these manual follow-ups. No, all of this is managed by CRM automation, which shout out to Jude again, because that's how he and I met. We're both certified experts with Ontraport. So shout out to Ontraport. And, it's fully automated. It just does its thing. And yeah, occasionally I will get people that will respond to the email, like directly
Hmm.
respond and say, oh, it was nice meeting you or something like that. And of course, I'll respond too. But the point is, you as an individual get to become ubiquitous. And we talked
Yes.
about that with the public health space. Like you're everywhere. And yet,
Hmm.
as you mentioned, you have the luxury of still being able to be present with your family, to show up and be
Hmm.
present in business and forge new connections while you're
Yeah.
actually simultaneously like having these conversations and cultivating these connections at the same freaking time. So yeah,
Yeah.
email
I
is just
love it.
really incredible.
Yeah.
Um, I see
And I
your
wanted
question,
to,
Anointed by Grace Designs. I'm sorry, Brittany. I was just going to
oh, you're
acknowledge Anointed
fine.
by Grace Designs. I see your question. I promise I'm gonna get to it in just a minute. I want to let Brittany get her thought out.
Yeah, yeah, great question too. Um, you mentioned, social media platforms and when people comment, right? The power of email marketing and what we've all seen, whether you're a user or a business owner, when those platforms go down, you no longer have communication with your ideal client or someone that you want to inspire or work with, right? And so that's
Exactly.
another 100% the number one essential component to email marketing, and having a CRM platform to house these people, whether or not you're using it, which we always say, like, if you're going to collect it, you might as well use it.
Yep.
Because that's what people expect from you too. That's why they gave you their email. But you're able to own these contacts now. So,
Mm-hmm.
that is another benefit of that. And setting up email marketing, it takes away the guilt because I didn't have time and I was heading to Mexico and I still see 30 people joining my email list in a week. And I'm like, oh man, that would be a lot of manual stuff here, and I don't feel bad
Yes.
because I know they're at least getting a few weeks of communication from me automatically.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then just simply like, I don't think people understand the value in being top of mind. So
Mm-hmm.
understand that, when you're showing up in someone's inbox, it is
Yeah, I love that.
literally a subtle, it's like it's overt, then it's covert as well, way of you literally staying top of mind for this
Mm-hmm.
individual. And they may not be ready to do business with you right away. It's not even necessarily always about close the deal, close the deal, close the deal. Again, it's about cultivating
Mm-hmm.
that relationship, being a value add, letting them know I didn't forget about you. I'm glad that we had an opportunity to connect, however we connected. And so, yeah, I just think that,
Yeah.
Brittany, again, to just kind of affirm what you were saying, like email definitely is that channel where you can like foster those really good relationships while you're still living your life. You're not just sitting in front of a screen all day. You're still
Yeah.
living your life and like
Yeah.
simultaneously connecting with people. It's awesome.
Yeah. I'll say
Um,
this one last thing, and
mhm,
I know that we want to make sure Grace, she gets her answer. I
mhm.
think that's, sorry, we're calling you Grace. I'm calling you Grace. Um, if you are an organization, nonprofit or for profit, and you're not prioritizing email marketing, you don't know a lot about email marketing, you don't think it's valuable, please connect with Maria. please.
Oh, thank
This is
you.
going to be essential. Organizations are dealing with low donation.
Yeah,
Organizations are dealing with low participation in program. People need reminders that, hey, we're live right now. People need reminders that, hey, this resource is available to you. Even though you put it on social media and you told your community about it, you told your auntie to share, this is different. It's right into their inbox and it's automatic. And you can literally set up emails to go out automatically for
mm-hmm.
months, especially if you know that I'm very careful with AI and GPT, chat GPT and all of that, because you want it to sound personalized. You want it
Yeah,
to sound in your voice, and it's not calling the people the wrong name and saying the wrong things to the wrong people. It needs to be all well thought out. But you can literally schedule out all of your stuff. We have several online courses for health organizations and individuals who work in healthcare and public health. When they join that course, they automatically get 16 emails over the course of the 60 days to engage them, and
nice.
everybody has found it valuable. No one has said that it's annoying. They found it to keep them on top of their game because they're customized to them. And it takes the work off my hands when 15 people join the course at once. I don't have to send 16 emails to all 15 people manually.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
again, thank you so much for the shout out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I promised Anointed by Grace Designs, I would respond to the question.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, what's a good platform for CRM? So of course, I'm going to be a bit biased here. And Jude, thank you as well for the shout out in the chat. I do see your comment as well. I'm going to be a bit biased here, and I think Jude will probably back me up on this one. So, Anointed by Grace Designs, I have been a certified expert with a CRM platform named Entreport for almost 10 years, actually. I got certified in
Wow.
2017. So, I would suggest Entreport, but I will say this. I've used Infusionsoft, which is now called something totally different. I don't know why it's slipping my mind. I have used HubSpot. I've used Zoho CRM. I've used a number of CRM platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, I think that these things are really based off of your personality, the way that you work. For me, um, Infusionsoft, which is now something else. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank here because I know the name of the new company, but um, it just was not intuitive for me. It didn't work for my personality and the way that I work. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like how HubSpot, you have to kind of piecemeal everything together. It's not all just kind of out of the box, ready to go. So this is why I liked Entreport. It's a very clean interface. For me, it's very intuitive. It was very easy to kind of understand. There were things that happened when I first started using the software that just totally made sense. Whereas I found with other platforms, I had to, thank you, Jude, keep Infusionsoft is now named Keep. Thank you. But nevertheless, like when I was using Entreport for the first time, what I noticed is that there were certain features like tracking the number of clicks on an email, which is extremely important, that
Mm-hmm.
like were just already there. I didn't have to like click a button and do that. And with Infusionsoft at the time, which is now Keep, I did. I had to like click some kind of button. So I had to send like this mass email out
Oh
to the
Lord.
list of my clients at the time list that which had like 75,000 people and had no way of knowing
Mm.
who'd clicked on the freaking links in the email because apparently I didn't see the little checkbox. I had to check to affirm that I wanted that tracked. And I'm thinking, who
What?
wouldn't want that tracked?
That's
What's the
email
point of sending
marketing.
an email? Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I will say again, Anointed by Grace, thank you for your by Grace Designs. Thank you for your question. And that person did say that they use Zoho currently. So yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely used Zoho. Again, just personally, it's not an interface that I necessarily like, and I don't find it to be easy to use. But yeah, Entreport all day, every day. If you have any questions, I'm going to
Yeah.
drop the link, full transparency because I
Put
am
the
an
link.
Entreport consultant or expert, I'm sorry, certified expert. We do have a referral link. So Anointed by Grace Designs. If you want to check it out and kind of get a 14-day free trial, I'm dropping the link in the chat. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so it looks like they agree with me with regard to Zoho. When I said
Yes.
that it's not very like user friendly in my opinion, and they said it's not. Yeah, honestly, I don't like it. Also, Anointed by Grace Designs, feel free to reach out to me if you have, any questions while you're kind of running through the trial of Entreport. I'm going to drop my personal website here, and I
Hmm.
do have a calendar link there. So just feel free to drop me any questions you have. So, okay, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Brittany. Enough
No,
of
you're
me. We're
good.
here for
No, this is
you.
people have questions. We need to make sure it's the answer. This is stuff that, sounds like she's ready to take some action and look at what's, a good resource for her. I was going to share the one that I use.
Okay,
It
yeah,
really
go
depends
ahead.
on what your organization does.
Yep.
But I use what is it? Kartra. I was going to say
Oh
something
yeah,
else.
I've heard of
Kartra.
Kartra. Okay.
Yes. So Kartra does all the email marketing. It has that as a part of the software. Email marketing. You can create sales pages, information
Yep.
pages. You can have forms, membership areas. I use all of that. Webinars that are automated. So I could even kind of do something live like this, and then people can automatically sign up for a time that they want to watch the replay of the webinar, and it can have call to actions that say, "Hey, join our 8-week accelerator or join our masterclass." So those are the software Kartra that I recommend. But I
Yep.
see Entreport might be something that's more related to what Zoho already offers. And again, you might not need all of that stuff. If you don't have
True.
online courses and forums and, all these webinars going on, you might not want to pay for it because I think it's about 140. It might be like 115 a month, but it's been perfect for us.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and you know
Yes.
what? I had actually signed up to become a Kartra affiliate at one point in time. So I've been in that platform. It's just been a while. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I've heard good things about Kartra as well. I've heard,
Yes.
good things about High Level, which again used to be named Go High Level. Apparently they dropped the Go and now they're just High Level. So there are a ton of platforms out there, but really, again, I really do think it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
based off of your work style and your personality. And for me, Entreport is just way more user friendly than some of the other platforms that I've used out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jude does have a question for you, Brittany, but what I'm going to do,
Oh,
because I only have about two more questions on my part, he has a really good question, actually.
okay.
I'm going to ask these last two questions, and then Jude, I promise we're going to make sure we tackle your question as well. So, Brittany, in your opinion, what makes this space, and we kind of touched on this already, but I just kind of want to wrap it up, if you will, in a pretty
Yeah.
bow. What makes the public health sector a recession-proof type sector? Like, what,
Yeah.
in your opinion?
Yeah. Um, Public health is a recession-proof sector for businesses because sadly, people will always be sick. Sadly, people will always be injured. People also need to learn about taking care of their bodies, whether they're
Yeah,
not sick or not injured. Because I pray for goodness for all people, and that's what public health is
yeah,
prevention. So, health literacy is an essential need. 9 out of 10 adults are not health literate.
mm,
So what does that mean? That means we will continue to have an increase in disease,
yeah,
continue to have an increase in injuries and preventable early deaths because of the lack of health literacy among our adults. And if the
mm,
adults are not health literate, we cannot expect our children behind us or our community aunties, the kids
no,
beyond behind us to be literate as well. So my job is to make sure organizations, number one, are putting out well-designed programs that communities can access. They understand how to use them or navigate through them so they can have an improved literacy rate,
yeah,
improve health outcome or quality of life. So I don't think that public health will ever be a business that goes out. Just like I don't think hospitals will ever go out either.
yeah,
But they need us. We need to work together. I want to mention I'm a certified health education specialist, which is
mm,
different from a community health worker. A lot of times people kind of get those two things confused. But certified health education specialists, we are non-medical practitioners, meaning I'm not a doctor, but I can work alongside doctors. Okay.
mm,
Now those who are CHES, I will say CHES for short, those who are CHES professionals, we can also get reimbursed for care that we provide to patients. We can get reimbursed through insurance.
wow,
Community health workers, depending on the state that they're in, they cannot. Um, I'm located in the state of Alabama. Community health workers aren't able to bill insurance for the services that they provide. But, a lot of organizations, they are providing services to the community that insurance is covering. and
Mm-hmm.
they want to bill for that so they can get reimbursed. And that's where we come in different ways. But we also again design health programs that actually lead to an improvement of health or life for people.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing. And
thank you.
to kind of like wrap this up, because Jude, I think this is kind of like a good segue into what you were just saying in terms of like projects and things like that that you take on.
Mhm.
If you're allowed to share,
Yeah.
what projects are you currently working on? And I think again, this would be a good segue into Jude's questions.
Yes, yes. It's funny you said if you're allowed to share. I do have a it's I haven't signed an NDA, but we're keeping it under wraps, but I can kind of give a high level overview. I'm helping a health tech company
Ooh,
design some clinics.
nice.
And making it more accessible for under-resourced areas. And so though they have like the tech side and the software and relationship with the client, I'm more so on the community-based implementation, making sure we get people in the door who need the support, or even marketing that
Mm-hmm.
clinic to make sure people know it's aware, addressing health literacy. So making sure that they're just all encompassing. And so that's one of the unique projects that I'm working on. I'm also working on a project with the pharmacy, which is really interesting. I've been working with them for several years now, helping them to identify people who have type 2 diabetes, to
Mm,
make sure that they're having a reduction, or just better maintaining their diabetes, right? Not everybody has uncontrolled diabetes, but we want to make sure we reduce the unnecessary hospital visits. We make sure they have a healthy A1C level. Because whether you're diabetic or not, everybody should have a healthy A1C level, blood sugar
exactly.
level,
Yeah.
blood glucose. Um, Also making sure, so that project is also community based, right? They're the pharmacists, they're the doctors. They know how to do these programs by making sure the patient's health is good, but I'm helping them to create health literate graphic images for social media. I'm helping them
Mm,
to recruit the patients and make sure these patients maintain or retain in the program, right? So we're addressing social determinants of health. We're also motivating them, which is not in the social determinant of health realm, but people
mm-hmm.
need to feel motivated that they can do these things. They can, improve their health, right? Because we have the resources that they need or to take advantage of to do so. And then making sure that the organization and the community both have good outcomes so that the organization can stay funded and the community stays supported. So
Hmm.
that's another
Nice.
one. Yeah, that's my motto, really. Like, we're trying to benefit both people. Communities, they can be healthy because of your choice of lifestyle, but organizations come in with the resources for those who need additional support, right? So how can we make sure everybody benefits? Another project I'm working on is helping an organization digitize, right? Um,
Nice.
so they have some services they've been doing in the community to educate people, to motivate people, but now they know, because I've kind of introduced the data to them, that they need to put this into an online course, right? So I'm helping them design an online course. And some people think, hey, we're just going to design this online course and then we'll send people to it. There's some elements that need to be in place before that. We gotta have a client attraction system in place. We can't just create the online course and stick it on the website and hope people see it.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's a process in place that has to happen. So helping them to digitize their online course by creating an online
Wow.
course.
I mean, first of all, congratulations. Again, this just really affirms what we said in the very beginning of this conversation. For those of you who are tuning in, by the way, thank you all for those of you who are here live in the flesh with us. Thank
Yeah,
you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the questions. Thank you for the likes on the video. If you are
yeah,
able to like and share, if you haven't already, please do. But if you missed the beginning of this conversation, Brittaney and I were talking about the importance of having an abundance mindset and how
mm-hmm.
despite, a looming recession, as you all have just heard, Brittaney has still secured contracts, okay? The money, the
Man,
transactions are still happening. They're transacting. So,
yeah,
you've
seriously.
just got to show up. You've got to kind of put on some blinders and not just be completely ignorant to what's going on in the world, but to some degree, as they say, ignorance is bliss. And there is
Mm-hmm.
some truth to that. To some
Yes.
degree, you do have to put on your blinders and just say, you know what? I hear that. I get it. We're heading into a recession, but there are still transactions happening every single day around the world. And I'm going to be a part of
Hmm.
some of those transactions. And so, Brittaney, again,
Why not?
congratulations to you for,
Yeah.
closing these deals and doing the important work that you do. And I think, like I mentioned before, this is a good segue into Jude's question specifically about projects. And so Jude
Hmm.
asked, how do you decide when and how to bring in partners to help fulfill a bid or a contract that your business is leading?
Hmm. Yeah, because I mean, those were just a few of the projects that we're working on. But the way that I identify other organizations or consultants to support the projects that we're doing, I'm in some of these groups where I have gotten to know some of these consultants. So that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
important to know your competitors and also know who are in your industry doing similar work, not even the exact work, right? Because one of
Yep.
the projects I have, they need A and B. I have A, I need someone to help me with B.
Yep.
So I actually do make sure I'm getting on Zoom calls or meeting them or taking them out to lunch, coffee, dinner to sit down and just understand what they do. And I see a lot from that. Whether I see self doubt or I see someone who is really thriving and they know what they're talking about. I mean, I see people who have all the degrees, but they don't have the experience. So, like, I able to kind of meet with these people to get an understanding of what they do and what their experience level is, because the last thing you want to do is disappoint a client. And
Exactly.
so you can't just pick people from a group on Facebook that you're connected with. It's important to pull these people to the side and invite them out to, online coffee date or whatever, or in person if you can, so that you can talk through what is your actual skill set. How do you talk about the industry, right? That's also helpful because I talk about public health and healthcare differently than someone in Mississippi or in
Exactly.
California. And when I'm able to connect with them, that helps me with my market research essentially too, to say, hey, they call it this, but make sure you're adding that to your language for reach to identify new clients, you know. So I do my due diligence. I've definitely had a 99% good experience with that. It's always
Okay.
1%,
Of course.
it's
Yep.
always one person.
Always. Yeah.
Always. And it taught me a lot, right?
Yeah.
Outside looking in, and this is something you asked earlier a little bit. Outside looking in, people think I'm like this large organization who have staff and I'm all the things. We do have a list of subcontractors
Yep.
who have supported us on projects since inception of our company. So we never fall short on capacity or the opportunity to support our clients. But it is me. I am a solopreneur, and it has to make sense for me to work with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had someone who got on a call with me a couple of days ago, and she wanted to work with me because she's worked with me in the past, and she wanted to hire me to help her with something.
Nice.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay, what do you need me to help you on? Because at the end of the day, some people just need to talk through a couple things. They might not even need to spend the money. And I'm that person. Like, why would you talk yourself out of a deal, Brittaney? That's crazy. What's the point of business? But at the same time, I don't want to take your money if I know there's really nothing that you really need help on. You just needed somebody to talk to, right? Um, but people will hire you based on your relationship, your knowledge, your
Yep.
expertise, whether they know you have a big team or a small team, because there's value in that.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, first of all, incredible response. So insightful on so many levels. I feel like we could be on this live,
All night.
for many, many hours. But one thing that you said that I wanted to touch on, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm losing my what I was going to share with you. Gosh, I think I lost it. I know Jude has a follow-up question. Maybe it'll come back to me, but there was
Okay.
something that you really said, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to say something to that. So Jude's follow-up question is, what agreements and processes do you put in place to make your partnerships work? And now I remember what
Mm,
I was going to say, and let me just make a note
yeah,
to myself
write
after
it
you.
down.
Right,
Um, yes, there's definitely agreements, and it really depends on what the agreement or what the thing we're doing, right?
right.
Everybody signs an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, whether you're my intern, or we're partnering, you're signing an NDA, and I haven't gotten any pushback with that. People understand. If they
Mm-hmm.
don't, we explain why that's necessary. But we also have a contractual agreement. So there was a competitor who I collaborated with, and in our contractual agreement, it says everything that you own, you own. We will not retain the rights of your property.
Yep.
Everything that I own, but they still sign an NDA. And of course, it works out that way. And sometimes, we haven't had any bad issues with partnerships and we pray against that. But it's more so with our clients and not in a bad way, but like you just have to make sure you stick to the plan, right? Because they're going to say, hey, we need this, we need this, we need this. And it's like, hey, look, this is what we were hired for. Just a gentle reminder. And that's what makes that relationship work. With a partnership, sometimes it's like, hey, we're going to split these sales 50% and make sure that's written. Make sure it's written that you're not paying for transaction fees because people have questions about those things. Like, hey, I thought it was just straight 100% to 50%. No, you have to pay for your own transaction fees. We're not covering that part. So
Right.
those are those little fine details that people aren't really thinking about, that could, cause a little friction. So yeah, we have contracts, NDAs in order. And we're still careful to share things that aren't needed to be shared, right? We
Mm,
have a framework that is copyrighted at the federal level.
nice.
I've collaborated with competitors. And though we were working on a project together, I didn't need to share the whole framework. I just shared like high level pieces of it because that was all that was needed. Because
Right.
NDAs are in place, but people still they don't care. They don't think they'll ever get, caught. But you can
Exactly.
never copy the blueprint because you're not the person who created it anyway. So that's the abundance mindset.
Yeah, exactly. No, and you're absolutely right. I think people oftentimes believe that having some sort of, and this is not by any means, let me just preface what I'm going to say by
Yeah,
saying I'm not discouraging anyone from getting legal documents in place. You should absolutely
right.
have legal documents in place. If you need NDAs, if you need partnership agreements, whatever it is, make sure you have those things in place. But also be aware that people break the law every single day.
Every single day.
So, I mean, and
Woo.
many of us break the law without even knowing, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that there's something I'm doing that's technically illegal and I'm not aware. So, I'm just like, don't think that just because somebody signed this little document that,
That
they're
part.
just going to be so like ethical and they're going to like not try to screw you over. They
Yeah.
might try to screw you over. And so
Or
you
your client
still
over. Yeah.
exactly. So you've still got to
Yeah.
have some like discretion. You've still got to make sure, or like in your case, you were saying that you didn't share the whole thing, right? And so, yeah, you've got to still have some, not some discretion. I meant to say some discernment so that you're
Mm-hmm.
not making your company super vulnerable or your client in this case very vulnerable. So the one thing I was going to mention when you were talking about bringing in contractors, partners, etc. And you had mentioned like, hey, I'm a solopreneur. I just want to share, and this is, for you, but of course, everyone as well who's here, that the number of millionaire solopreneurs has actually doubled in like a year. So this,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, you all, this is the future, right? Like I
Yes.
used to employ a team, literally had W-2 employees, but with, of course, obviously the economy, but also AI. You don't need a full-time team anymore. You can literally
Yeah.
outsource some of these smaller tasks to AI and then just bring in contractors. And shout out to
Mm-hmm.
Jeanette. Jeanette is awesome. Of course, Paulette as well is very awesome. And I still, I'm able to work with them from time to time, especially Jeanette, more so Jeanette. I'm
Mm.
able to kind of bring her in on some projects from time to time. But, the point is like you literally are able to earn 7, 8 figures as a solopreneur. So you all do
Yeah.
not, those days of like having to say we, and I still have to catch myself. I think even during this conversation, I've said we.
Yeah.
It's just like by default. But the truth is, a lot of us are just
It's
going to be
just
saying
me.
I, you
Yeah.
know, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make your business inferior. And I mean, this is just the way that the world is kind of moving in,
Mm-hmm.
which in my opinion, I think it democratizes the workplace, which I think is great. And um, it creates the gig economy, which again, I think is
Mm.
great because now you're able to kind of pick and choose the type of
Yeah.
work that you want to do, the type of people that you want to work with. And so I think it's a great
Yeah.
thing. So obviously, I know that you are a loving mother and wife and all of these great things, an incredible business owner. I want to be respectful of your time. I want to kind of give you an opportunity, if you're comfortable, sharing how people can connect with you.
Yeah.
Do you offer any sort of like one-on-one consultations? Like if someone wants to talk to you about how to or where to find the RFPs and things like that, Do you offer
Hmm.
any sort of consultation? If so, please share that information with folks.
Yes, absolutely. We mainly support health organizations and businesses who are looking to design or implement health programs, services, or initiatives. We do help them uncover funding opportunities for their initiatives as well. Now, if you're a business owner and you're planning to start or scale your business, grow your business in public health, we can totally talk. We can schedule for everyone. We can schedule a strategic strategy session. Is really like a phone call for like 30 minutes and talk about your
Nice.
questions and your needs. And we can think about working together, right? See if there's some alignment. We also have some of our online courses that are, you can sign up right now and start watching it now, take action, and you can still reach out to us. It's called Amplify if you want to strengthen your marketing and community outreach. Really great 90-minute masterclass. We have consulting. So if you really want to get down, get dirty, and really see an outcome that benefits the organization and the community, or even just your business, we do consulting. We have a private call about that to see what your needs are. We also do VIP days. So maybe
Nice.
you're not wanting to do consulting for 6 to 12 months, but you're wanting to do a quick win. A VIP day is we're working together for one day, and we're going to get you a customized plan of action, all your questions answered, and then you get a 3-month action plan to support you for the future. So it's not just one day of love and support and making an action plan, but you actually get support for 3 months after that. But we also have like a couple free trainings and workshops. One is a free training coming up.
Nice.
It's on April 9th, about creating sustainable programs for under-resourced communities. We're partnering with our public library. I know the president is trying to get rid of them, and
Yeah.
they've been a source of life for our business. Because I'm big on community relationships, community building, and that's how we've been able to know who the people are from our community by way of the public library. So we are partnering again with the Birmingham Public Library to bring a free training to our communities and leaders to know more about how to access resources and also how to implement these resources for under-resourced communities. Um, find me on YouTube, Jenkins Public Health. You can find me on Instagram, Jenkins underscore public health, Jenkins. And then my website is www.jenkinsphc.com. So Jenkins Public Health Consulting.com. Thank you so much. This has been
No, thank
awesome.
you. I just put your website in the chat because I'm sure that that's where they can find all the other links as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Okay, good. And is your upcoming the free thing that's happening, I think you said April 9th, is that also on your website? Is that where they can
It
sign up for
sure
that?
is. Yep.
Okay,
It's pretty much as soon as you see open up the website, it's right there for you to register. It's free. Just two things you need to register. You'll get the link. It is on Zoom at 12 p.m. Central Time on April 9th. I do want to
nice.
take a second, with the workplace challenges with all the federal things, and I've
Yeah,
seen a lot of organizations cutting their staff, but there are opportunities on the table for employment. Don't get that, don't get that confused. Businesses
exactly.
are thriving every day. More businesses are being opened. More businesses are expanding globally. My husband's company just expanded globally. So
Oh,
like
nice.
there's opportunity on the table for you if you're not a business owner. If you don't want to start your own business, that's fine. It's not for everybody. It's for
Yeah,
some unique people.
true.
But
Crazy
the
people.
so the public health mentor program is an 8-week accelerator to help you get into public health or get a raise, secure a high level role within 60 days. So I can help you there if you have a question about navigating the workforce. Again, we could jump on a call and see if that's a good fit for you as well.
Nice. Okay. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes,
And you all
yes.
definitely check out Brittany. I mean, if you don't do anything else, if you don't participate in the upcoming webinar that is coming up on the 9th of April,
Yes.
bare minimum, definitely check her out on LinkedIn. She posts really great posts. Obviously, as you
Thank
all
you.
can tell from this conversation, she's exceptionally knowledgeable in this space.
Mm,
And she has an abundant mindset. And I think that it's really important to kind of surround yourself around individuals
mm,
that have that abundant mindset, especially during a time where, we're being scared, like scarcity is being shoved down our throats, right? So
yeah.
just make sure that you check her out, connect with her on social media, definitely sign up for her upcoming workshop. And I wanted to shout out really quickly Corey Northington. Shout out to Corey,
Yay. Hey,
because
Corey.
he did ask a couple of questions on LinkedIn, but we've already addressed them. I'm still gonna like just say them, just to
Yeah.
acknowledge that he did ask questions. So Corey's questions were, what made you go into your particular field for public health originally? I know you've already kind of shared that journey. And then he also asked, what can we do to support your cause in terms of
Mm,
awareness and need for your field? So we didn't cover that one.
okay. Really, if you know a health organization or someone who works for one, that means like a health department, a clinic, a nonprofit organization, a food bank, a coalition. If you hear them saying, hey, we're not really reaching the people for our program, like no one's showing up. If they're saying, hey, our social media sucks, if they're saying, hey, we need more funding for our programs, which can mean 100 different things, there's 100 different issues that can be related to that.
Yeah.
Connect them with me, right? I can tell you all day my little elevator pitch, but sometimes that is not always the best way. So if you hear them talk about a challenge that makes you think program development, they need help with designing a better program or strengthening their existing program, or showing up online better to reach their target audience, to
Mm-hmm.
show up for these programs or increase their literacy, then I'm that person. Someone who wants to get into public health or healthcare, or they're already in it and they're like, I want a new job or I want a raise, connect with me. There's so many of these different public health coaching and mentorship groups, but a lot of times people are just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping things stick. We actually have a methodology that works and fast. People don't want to be in the job market for another 6 months, 8 months, which is more than usual, longer than usual, and what market research says. But we've been able to get people into these mid and senior level jobs within 60 days because they are tired of being stuck. They're tired of
Wow.
hearing the same things that really isn't working. And it's really some small changes that make a big impact. So thank you so much for that question.
Yeah, again, shout out to Corey Northington,
He's
man.
awesome.
He's awesome. He's based out there in Birmingham. So,
Yeah.
Corey, definitely, thank you for for those questions. So again, Brittany, you're awesome. So happy
Thank
that
you for the
you were.
opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And I appreciate you for being so generous with your time. I think honestly, this is probably the longest live I've done. So,
We
shout
had
out
some
to
great
us.
questions.
Yeah, seriously. This has definitely been super informative for me as well. And obviously, I know Jude and Anointed by Grace Designs has been, they've been in the
Yes.
building asking questions in the chat. So thank you all again for your engagement. For those of you who are just kind of watching, you didn't ask any questions because maybe you were shy. Thank you as well for being here. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you all are going to see so much more from Brittany. Don't be
Yes.
surprised if you see more from Brittany and I, in fact.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll definitely be, rolling out some things. But yeah, again, thank you so much, Brittany. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And just super quick stuff on my end. You all, I have Tuesday night, April the 1st. This is not an April Fool's thing. Tuesday night, April the 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. I will be going live again on YouTube to do a
Yeah.
domain name auction of my premium domain names. So that's been a way that I've like kind of had some supplemental income coming in throughout the years. And so I have a ton of domain names that have just been sitting dormant and I'm going to auction them off. So we'll be right
Ooh.
here. Once again, there is no registration form or anything. Going to be right here on YouTube Live. We're going to auction off some of those premium domain names. And so just show up. Even if you're not anticipating bidding on anything, just show up and see what I have because I've got stuff
Yeah.
across various sectors. Some stuff has absolutely nothing to do with marketing. Some stuff is just downright trifling. Like I have one that's called bigbagactivities.com. Has nothing to do with marketing, but as you all know, that's a very popular phrase here in the States. So yeah, y'all show
That's
up
funny.
on this channel on Tuesday, April 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific for the domain name auction, the premium domain auction. And last but not least, I am going to be hosting a free workshop, Rapid Email Revenue Sprint, where we're going to talk about how you can quickly get those dollars with email marketing. And so I'll
Mm.
share more information about that later. You need to join my email list to know about that one. So, okay, I'm done here. So, Brittany,
Love
again,
it.
thank
Rapid
you for your
email
time.
revenue.
Yep. Yep.
Ooh, I like that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
Thank
have to be
you.
there for that one.
Yeah, no, I would love to have you. Seriously, I would love to have you. I haven't promoted it much yet because there's been so much movement going on lately, but
Hmm.
I am gonna be sharing the flyer here in a couple of days.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm
Okay.
excited about that one. There's a lot going on the side. It's a lot going on.
Yeah, hey,
But
that's good.
yeah. So, okay. Again, thank you, Brittany. Really
Yes.
appreciate you. Much success with all the projects. Looking forward to working with you, of course.
Yes.
And y'all that are checking in, whether you are here live now or you're going to watch the recording, thank you as well for being here. Y'all keep coming back because I'll be having more live sessions coming very soon. So,
Ooh,
everybody have a great evening, day. And yeah, I'll be back again soon.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brittany. Have a good night. And I don't know. I always forget how to end this thing. See, this is when I know I'm an auntie because then I forget basic tech stuff. Let me see if I know how to